started dating someone in church and got pregnant.
Once you realize that you're pregnant and you have all these choices put before you.
I felt very isolated, very overwhelmed of what am I supposed to do.
I felt like I was going to be a single parent.
I had to protect Jesus' reputation.
It's not really a baby right now.
It's just a circumstance. Once it's over, it's over.
I'm only 5 weeks.
This will fix all your problems.
The public isn't hearing what abortion really does to a woman. The other side is running the media.
I always told myself that it wasn't my problem, wasn't my position, wasn't my body.
And they're telling men to shut up and they can't talk to this issue.
I ended up having 5 abortions before I met my current wife.
Society tells us so many times as women that this is a good choice for us, that abortion is a good choice, that you can't get hemmed down by a child or it'll mess up your life, and all of those things might be true at that moment.
Walking into that doctor's office and just the amount of people in there, at first I was like, okay, this isn't that bad. There's obviously plenty of other people in my position.
It's not really an abortion. I'm just going to put 2 capsules in my jaw and it's going to dissolve and I'm going to have a miscarriage.
I remember signing my name on these consent forms and then her handing me these pills.
And then it wasn't until about 4 weeks later that I'm like, this isn't right.
I didn't hear the heartbeat, you can't feel the baby move. I wasn't having morning sickness. How much it truly did affect you and how much that baby was really a part of you.
1 out of every 3 women have had an abortion, which means 1 out of every 3 men have lost fatherhood in an abortion.
I realized how much built up hurt and anger, frustration with myself, with not stepping up as a man.
When we make life and death decisions for another human being, we're inserting ourselves into God's role. So we bring on God-sized consequences into our life. We can never go through the killing of another human being and think that it is not going to affect us detrimentally.
You don't think that one little decision like that so early in the process is going to affect you, but it really does.
There is not a facet of your life that abortion doesn't touch after you make that choice, because you open up this door of death.
I could not grasp forgiveness because I continued to think about what I had done. The guilt and shame was just too big for me.
Just constantly going and just replaying in your mind, what could have been.
I just finally had accepted that this was the life that I was going to live, that I just was going to be haunted by that decision that I had made.
The reason why I started SaveOne, what it was birthed from, was my own pain and shame and guilt from an abortion that I had. For 7 years after that date, I lived with just a lot of grief, a lot of regret. With women, a lot of times, one of the main things is depression, is what they're going through. Another is alcohol and substance abuse. Another is re-experiencing, going through, having flashbacks, reliving what could they have done differently, and they drive themselves crazy because you can't go back and change it.
People saying, I've contemplated suicide, I was an alcoholic, I did drugs to try to hide the pain. How many similarities there are between the ways that you deal with things and realizing, okay, it wasn't me, I'm not crazy, this is really how this affects you.
That's just in women. In men, one of the main things that we see in men is anger, an anger that borders on rage, which translates into domestic violence. So we start looking at this situation with human eyes, thinking there's no way to fix this, when in reality, the only thing that can fix it is a divine encounter with a supernatural God. So as this thing has evolved over the last nearly 2 decades now, it has become just this global phenomenon that people are latching onto because they're just wanting the truth. And that's what we're offering, is the truth.
I didn't know other people existed. I thought I was the only one.
This is how life is really supposed to be, that I don't have to continue to have to live in the guilt.
And for the first time, I began to understand the concept of forgiveness.
But it gave me my life back. It gave me a voice.
I think it has strengthened our marriage.
I think it saved our marriage.
Yes.
There was talks of divorce, but most of it stemmed from the abortion, so we've been able to work through that amongst many other things.
One of the women said this: If I could just save one unborn baby, I would be willing to tell my story. And then another one said, if I could just save one woman from ever having to go through this, I would tell my story. And to know that when you tell a story like that, you're risking humiliation, you're risking rejection, you're risking ruining your reputation, you're risking all of those things. But she would be willing to tell her story if it only saved one. And now we started as this little Bible study in our church, and now we're nearly 200 chapters in 17 different countries. And so we're pretty pumped about that.